morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Maggie Wolfadell and Andy Serling. You ready to close out the penultimate week?
Yes, this is our last Talking Horses together
From
here.
Saratoga.
Exactly.
Right. I'm only here next Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
You will probably, are you on next weekend?
Yes,
Are you around?
I am with Sarah.
Okay.
Next Sunday.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I will be in Saratoga.
All right.
Probably
Well,
hanging out
enjoy.
with Mom or something.
Well, as you should.
Absolutely. I can't wait to go
She's the
see Mom.
coolest.
She's the
cooler than
greatest.
you. I mean.
Well, being cooler than me, by the way. Being cooler than me does not make anybody the
Not e-
coolest.
it's pretty
Doesn't even
easy.
make you in the vicinity of the coolest. It puts you somewhere slightly less uncool.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyhow, we'll head over to Naira Bets. If you're not, if you haven't signed up, sign up. Match 200. Dylan Davis says to match up. Always listen to Dylan. Any track,
I don't know
anywhere,
if I listened to
anytime.
him in that picture.
That's Dylan's is a very old picture of him. We were
Yeah.
discussing it the other day. We have the track stats. Check them out when you're over at Naira Bets as well. We also have a middle pick 4 today, races 2, 3, and 6 for the pick 4s. We have the Belmont Derby Challenge, $300 buy. That's next Saturday. This one is on track and online. Usually it's just online. A friend of mine won yesterday's contest, actually.
Oh, congrats.
Congrats, yeah. Better opinions than I did. 3 at Belmont, 2 at Monmouth. The Equestrian Big 5. All the action will be shown on America's Day at the races, 12:30 to 5:30. We are FS2 for the first half hour, then FS1, and then, no, it's not 6. We're off at 5:30. 5:30 is the last one. Anyway, they tried to do a whole thing and it ended up being wrong. That'll just stop them from always doing it. Do you have any thoughts on any of the race at Churchill yesterday? Did you watch the Foster?
I watched King's Barnes. I watched the Stephen Foster.
Race came up relatively slow.
Did it?
Yeah, got 100 buyer. It was
Okay.
relative. It was a lot
I don't
faster
feel
than
it's
the
a very good
Fleur de
division,
Lis.
as it hasn't been for several years now. I mean, is that? Do you share the same sentiment?
Horses retiring too often. Good horses
Exactly.
not staying in training to get better.
Yeah.
First mission completely failing to show up yesterday.
He does that, too.
And Skippy Longstocking not running his best race. He had a weird race, right?
Weird race. I was like, I loved
Close,
him.
drop back.
Dropped back, and then he came on
Yeah.
again.
It was
For
strange.
third,
I agree.
yeah.
Kingsbar a definitive winner though. Gets
No,
the job done.
He
He's obviously
looked.
improved.
He honestly looked loaded. You know, you could see him. He was traveling well, coming around the far turn, and he definitely kicked on. So yeah, it's good to see some of these horses sticking around like he is.
You know, yesterday wasn't a bad day though for the sprinters because Close the Game Sugar, who won the Mahoney last year, which will be a grade 1 after this year, after they took the second place finisher and he won a race and made it a grade 1. So I think the Mahoney should be a grade 1. It's ungraded, by the way. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. He's now a dirt sprinter. He got a 99 buyer, but I thought the best performance maybe of the entire day yesterday was Subricate, who got a 103 buyer. I mean, he crushed that field.
Yeah. I mean, this sprint division is actually looking
Getting a little
more
better.
fun.
A little better, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Subricate might end up being the favorite for the Vanderbilt after that race. He has
Right.
gotten really,
Right,
really good.
right. I
Morgan
know.
Duarte, so improving
Good.
horses.
Good
So
for
some
Jorge.
interesting results yesterday. Race number 1, it will show Pentathlon running third last time out. I have nothing against Pentathlon other than the fact that this is a horse that Maggie was all over last year at 21-1 when the horse finished third. It just feels like,
You got some memory, man.
do we want to do we really want to sort of take this horse now at odds on?
I know, but where else are you going to go? It's a 5-horse field.
I went a little off the reservation. That's where I went.
Okay, I love going off the reservation, but I just couldn't do it in this
I shouldn't
race.
say that. I
Look,
apologize. That is a bad thing to say, and I apologize for that.
Oh, sorry.
I went, it's a bad choice. I did not realize
you
that, and I apologize for that.
went out of this stratosphere. Let me say
I
that. Look, he's a horse that I didn't cover this
See,
race.
I have my pick as one you don't have anywhere.
I didn't cover this race up at Saratoga, but I went over there because Tom's horse was It's a Miracle, and I was really intrigued by, and I couldn't believe he was 20-something to 1. But anyway, and I remember talking with Michelle Yu, and I said, man, Shug's horse looks the best. She's like, I know, I picked him. And he'd really kind of mentally matured too. So there was this, me picking him here today is a combination of him running well enough last time, a horse that I've always liked that I think has improved.
No, he's probably going to win the race, and I'm not against him. I just wanted to get a little bit crazy here because treaty obligation, I've just seen enough. He runs
Yeah.
the same race every time.
Exactly.
It's okay, and
He's a 4-year-old.
maybe it'll be good enough to win one of these days. But a Chad Brown 0 for 6 with 3 seconds and 3/3, I don't want. I actually let Deputy Mischief, who took a little bit of money against Donegal Momentum and did stumble, though it wasn't much of a stumble.
It
more of
really
a
wasn't. It
mild
it was like a
bobble.
forward
Yeah.
stumble, and I do think he'll appreciate more ground. I had written that in my notes, and too, getting away from a muddy sealed
Yeah.
track as well. So I think he is very interesting. I have him third. Now, Digital Ops, who you went to, I just couldn't see him. He just didn't do any running.
Well, I thought he did a little bit of running at the end. I will say that he finished ahead of Unique Insights, who ran this race and turned out to be pretty good for Chad Brown. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe these were horses that just weren't really ready to run, and now with more
He
time,
wasn't.
maybe he'll be better. Maybe he sucks. But he's going to be a big price in here, and I thought I'd take a small shot with him. I was sort of 2s and 3s as my weirdos here, because if the 4 wins, I'm going to lose. He's going to win because nobody else shows up. And Shug's horse will probably win Pentathlon. I decided to take somebody else.
Well, and two, with Digital Ops, they paid a lot for him. He worked
did.
that 10 flat. And in my notes, I have, when he debuted, his lone race, big horse, and it looked like he needed one. Those types of horses generally do. Now, I don't love the fact that we haven't seen him since October 6th, but I can see where you're going. I just, I wish this horse was trained by somebody else, because and it's a short field.
I feel like, though, with Shug in there and with the other Chad, he's going to get a bit ignored. I mean,
Okay.
So I'm not that worried that I'm going to get that Chad Brown money, though. I'm beginning to wonder, maybe the public has finally figured out to stop betting Move to Gold. He might have been
He's
one of the
not
most
good.
ridiculous short prices I've ever seen yesterday. If it wasn't Chad Brown, he could have been 12 to 1 there.
He's not.
I have
he's
no
not
idea
very
why
good.
people were betting that horse
I
yesterday.
have no idea either.
Race number 2. So we'll take a look at Shoplifting's last race and the stretch. And I know Shoplifting obviously disappointed at 1 to 2 last time. It's a horse that lost to Just FYI as the favorite in her debut. But this rain caused the track to get incredibly speed favoring. And the horse that won was just able to run off from the field in here and control on the front end. And I actually think, considering the bias of the track, her 72 buyer is actually a pretty good effort. And I'm not going to try to beat her today. Not that it necessarily is going to be an easy race.
I just feel like she should have gotten the job done.
I don't
already.
know. That bias was strong.
No, already. She should have won. She should have won her races already. She's been a beaten favorite so many times. She's been beaten by good horses. I'm not
Yes.
going to deny that. But I.
4th. Wow.
I'm
That's
taking
okay.
a little bit
I'm
of a
just-
stand.
I have no problem with Bourbon Serengeti. We'll look at her last race. She lost to a decent Linda Rice horse last time out. Comes back for Brad Cox. I don't know that she's demonstratively less likely to win than Shoplifting.
And isn't she going to be the speed in here? I know Shoplifting maybe just was a little bit rusty. She didn't break that well, but I feel like Bourbon Serengeti has the tools to say that she is a naturally faster horse, and she can play Catch Me If You Can in here.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't have pace figures to go on.
They
and
have her being faster, Bourbon Serengeti.
Why don't I? You have a pace projector for this race?
I don't have pace projector, but I have the pace
okay.
figures.
Yeah, I'm a little sketchy on them. I don't know. They have. I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like Shoplifting's going to show a lot more speed today.
You could be right, and I'm not saying that. But the thing with her is I've always thought she should be quicker than what she is, and oftentimes she's not on the lead.
Well, her first race, I mean, she did show some real speed that day.
Yeah, and that race came apart and set up for Just
I'm not
FYI.
sure what
He's
to do
talented.
with I'm thinking in here.
I'm thinking she was against the racetrack last time,
Yeah, she
and
was.
then the race that she debuted in felt
Been a decent
pretty
race.
live.
I know. I agree. And her figure wasn't bad. No, I agree. She's not impossible. I put Cost Containment second. The first time stars to have to drill. There's some pedigree there. It seems like the ones that Chad's been running, the first have been pretty live. So I'm going to use this one for second here. But I'll be interested. I don't agree with the morning line, and I think you feel the same way. I think the 4 is going to be favored in the second race. It might be relatively close, but I think Shoplifting's going to
No,
be
I
favored.
100% agree with you. That's why I tried to put him fourth.
Yeah, I don't think the 5 is going to be. It'll be.
Yeah.
It may be relatively close.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if the 4 isn't favored. Race number 3. So we'll take a look at Irish Jackson winning 2 back, and I don't think Irish Jackson ran that badly last time. But man, I got to tell you, this drop really doesn't sit
Scares
well
you.
with me.
I know. It's a tough pill to swallow. But her body of work, and especially since coming back here in 2024 now as of 5-year-old.
She was even a little against the track in this race, so
I know.
she ran fine. No, I agree.
I just couldn't see
dumping her.
past her.
No, I don't. I'm not.
There's issues. There's got to be issues.
I mean, and I'll tell you something. I don't feel like the Nodas are drop them off the cliff type operation.
They're not.
They're really not.
They'll stick to it. I agree. You might be absolutely right, but I could not warm up to anybody else.
Well, clearly you've got Ghostly Girl second, so you've given up on all of them. As far as First Class Cat, I know she's a $14,000 and she was void for 25, but this is a horse that ran Buyer figures at 65 and 67 for John Kimmel that are close to being competitive with the one. And this is her race 3 back when she won. Then something obviously went wrong in that race, the Gab's Dream Girl, but that was a gold rail and she was on the outside in that race, the race 2 back. So I'll give her a little bit of an excuse that day. And then Linda, for whatever reason, decided to try her on the turf. I'm not exactly sure what that was about. Obviously, it didn't work out particularly well. Maybe she thinks she made a bad claim and she thought, let me try the horse on the turf before I completely give up.
Yeah.
On the other hand, she claimed the horse for 14s and for 14.
And she at least is listed as the owner, so she can, conceivably call the shots.
Theoretically.
And yeah, I know, I hear what you're saying. She was against the track 2 back. But I wish she did a little bit more running.
No, I don't disagree. She was bad. I agree. Being against the track is one thing. Running pathetically is another.
And then, the voided claim when she did win. I know we've seen many horses come back, and I shouldn't make a big deal out of it.
I can't, Maggie. It is the worst information we've ever started putting into the PPs.
Yeah.
Because all it does is make people think about things they don't know, including us.
Yeah.
And I wish they would just get the void claims out.
Right.
It just doesn't, it's not helping, it's hurting.
I know.
It arguably is hurting.
I know.
Do you know the second race yesterday, every claim was voided?
The second race?
Yes, I know you're thinking, the second race. Every claim, there were 3 claims, all voided.
Wow.
Anyway, so my question is, were they all voided for the same reason, Maggie?
Right,
You know what I mean?
No, they're not.
And how do those horses, how many of them are going to come back and run okay?
There's a confluence of issues that
It's
go on,
very
and
frustrating.
a lot of them are minor, and it's oftentimes fairly subjective too.
Correct. Too many horses come back off voids and run fine.
Get that V out of there.
And I get it, and you see it there, and it's a distraction.
It is.
You can't help
it's
it.
my biggest distraction.
Because
I
it
feel
should
like.
be. Because in essence, Maggie, it should be. If you see a void claim, it should be saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't trust this horse. On the other hand, I don't know, they seem to win all the time. I actually thought about try it again. This horse just never wins, even though she should have won 3 back. But even her best races aren't very good.
Honestly, I put Ghostly Girl second because this race feels like there aren't that many quick horses in here, and I thought she could maybe control again. I know she, was emphatically
Is it
beaten,
Romero
I
going to
guess.
go, though? Romero just goes.
He often
Whenever I
does.
look at a pace trajectory, Romero is one of the 2 horses close to the lead. I assume Romero is going to be in front.
Yeah.
Because he is not bashful,
No, he's not.
as evidenced by his behavior, making fun of his cousin as well.
Oh, no, I know.
We've got to have some fun with the 2 of them in
Hilarious.
Saratoga when they're in the same room for a couple of months. Race
I
number-
think if he wins a race, Rajiv should fly off the set and interview him.
This isn't at all self-serving on your part?
No.
Just checking. Race number 4. I'm guessing we all went to the same horse, and I'm going to start with Newsley because I do think Newsley is good, and I agree with you on Fuego. This is race 2 back where I really felt like he ran a winning race, and Althena Beach got very lucky to beat him as stablemate. Her stablemate, excuse me. Last time it's like they knew she wasn't going to win. Isn't she going to get clear one of these days and just not stop? She's okay.
Yeah.
She's
No,
run pretty
she's okay.
too well for a horse that keeps losing.
And I don't think there's any killers in here, but I think she's been running with, the wintertime other than.
The crew, right. No, I agree.
So they're not quite as good, and I think Enfuega could be good.
And as we take a look at Enfuega, she ran a Buyer figure that's fast enough to compete in this race when she won her debut. They tried the Tempted. She was only 4-1 in there. I think she might be pretty good, like you. I think everybody, we all picked this horse. She's the obvious horse.
Right. I mean, you look down and you see the race she comes out of first time out, and you see Book of Wisdom, and you're like, and then you see Landed, and you're like, oh,
I know,
okay,
it's weird,
okay,
right?
that's fine.
I mean,
Yeah.
Landed's gone on for Wesley Ward. She won the Bowery up in Saratoga.
Yeah.
She's won like 2 or 3 races.
Right.
And Book of Wisdom obviously is
Running
not
for
very
16.
good. Right, and losing.
Yeah. The horse I thought was a little bit intriguing here was Maggie's Palace, and don't even start with me with the name because they spelled it incorrectly.
I think in your case, you should say they spelled it correctly. But anyway.
Beaten by two back by Sweet Brown Sugar, who's okay.
I agree.
For Paul Barrow. And
I
then,
agree.
I don't know, maybe they were just trying to get a tune-up race and trying her on the turf. But, you know, Jimmy Ryerson, I know isn't winning that many races, but his horses
This isn't exactly a barn full of fast horses.
Exactly.
Jimmy
I thought
wins.
she was a
Jimmy
little
wins. When
interesting.
Jimmy has the goods, Jimmy
Hey.
wins.
Yeah, and I thought there was a little bit of upside with her.
All right. I got no problem with that. Race number 5. Race number 5, we'll take a look at Print Rack's last race, and I don't know. I know it's 7 furlongs, but isn't it supposed to make the pace a little easier? Why am I supposed to try to beat this horse, Maggie?
I don't know. I don't.
I
struggle.
never want to pick him because I never trust he's going to hold on, but he's gotten pretty damn good.
10 for 27 lifetime.
Right,
and
18
even
for
when he doesn't
18,
win, he
1-2.
still, right, exactly. He still tries. He still shows
He's too
up.
fast for these horses early.
He is, but don't you think they're going to at least try to be aggressive with a Magnolia Midnight?
He's just faster, though, isn't he? Yeah, but he's just faster
Yeah,
now.
I know.
I
And
just.
I mean, what are they going to do with Gun Maestro? Aren't they supposed to go with him?
Okay.
With the Bug Rider on?
Let's discuss Gun Maestro.
Okay.
I don't think Gun Maestro can keep up with him. I think Gun Maestro was able to get to the front. I know it was a fast half, but it wasn't a fast first quarter in slower races. That was also a big inside track this day. And do you really? I mean, I know you don't like this horse at all. I think this horse is a candidate to just have nothing today,
Oh, no, exactly. But
early or late. I don't think he can keep up with Print Rack. I don't think he could get near Print Rack early in the race, save his life.
I don't think anybody can keep up with Print Rack. My problem with Print Rack today is that, yes, you often find speed horses get in that comfortable rhythm going the 7/8. But I thought with these two wanting to be aggressive, that they're going to push him to go a little bit quicker than getting into that
Maybe.
7/8 speed rhythm.
Maybe.
It could go completely the other way, and I'm fully aware of that. And I obviously am not against Print Rack in here, but I wanted to try here with Market Alert, who I thought his last 2 races were a little bit better than they may have seemed. He was strong in hand, kind of being a little wrestled with, 2 back. He lost
Eric
a little bit
Hansel
of
was wrestling with him?
and he did
I want
not
proof.
look happy being down on the inside. He was trying to lug out. He's like, get me off of this rail. Then you go to a Saratoga effort in the slop, and he was far back. They went quick.
He didn't
but
run that badly
excellent
that day.
time. And he swings out basically to the outside rail and makes this late close. So I just thought that this was a field, and the Canamassis, this is a reclaim for them, and they opt to protect him. I don't know, maybe he's a horse that can round back into.
My
well,
problem
not that
is
he's out of form.
he's really got to hope both the 1 and 2 don't run their figures to win.
Yep.
That was my problem with
Yep.
it. I just wondered if he's just a little bit
Absolutely
too slow.
fair enough.
I don't think he's impossible.
I'm
but
relying on
Print Rack not winning.
perceived dynamics, which often don't play out, and I fully admit that.
Noticed that. Take a break. We'll be back with the late pick 4.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We're back, Maggie and Andy, and before we left, Maggie wants to mention, because you want to mention the 10 strike horse, because if every 10 strike horse doesn't get a mention here, there's like a punishment or something for that.
He is a reclaim for them. And he's a reclaim for Michelle Giangiulio, and this is a horse that used to be with her uncle, Juan Carlos Guerrero. So I thought
didn't
that
know
was
that he was her uncle.
Yeah,
Where have
I mean
been?
through marriage, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he's married to
Okay.
her mom's sister. And Michelle has done well with horses that I'm a little bit suspect of, like Pineapple Man, for instance. I know he's a all or nothing type, and this horse might be an all or nothing type. But she's given him some time. She brings him back here.
He's run figures at times that would win this race. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Beachwalker, Maggie's long shot in race number 5. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Race number 6, I'm very disappointed because my one sort of pricey idea all day was I
know.
wanted to bet BD Saints.
Ditto.
And it's just kind of annoying. It's just, he probably would have lost. It probably saves his money, but and getting back, I end up scratching into Liar's Poker. Well, I don't think you need me to tell you that Liar's Poker is a pretty obvious horse in this race. And I know Mauritius won with a 1 buyer point lower. You can run the replay if you like. Figure in his next start. I'll give you a chance. But I thought he ran well in here, and I don't know who I'm supposed to take over him. I mean, you've got Clear Conscience. Maggie, I am sick and tired of Clear Conscience, who never really was that good.
Yeah.
Why is he supposed to get better now? It's like he had that perfect suck-up trip when second Spirit of St. Louis, and he's just kind of been crappy since then, hasn't he?
Yeah, I hear you.
Gets back to the turf, I guess. First time for Lisa back on the turf.
And I feel like Lisa's horses, and she doesn't have that many horses in her barn, but they've all been running well.
She's a good trainer.
She is.
She just, people don't realize they don't see her that much in New York anymore. Lisa's a very good trainer.
Do you know that one of my first jobs in high school, her stepmom is a woman named Linda Zhang, who was like an Olympic dressage rider, and I'd ride her horses on the farm, a job that I got through her dad.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
great. I get it, getting back to turf. It's not like her figures don't make her possible. Maybe it's just, I may just have a bias against this horse.
I hear
just
you.
don't really like this horse.
Yeah, I mean, he's never gone on. He is what he is, but I thought that is what he is could be very competitive here, especially getting back to his preferred surface. Now, Liar's Poker, this is a horse that I give him full credit for being incredibly patient with. Him coming back, the year-and-a-half layoff.
I didn't like him last time.
Neither did I. He did look ready. But sometimes I feel like with these horses, you gear them all up to get ready to win off the bench of an extended layoff, and then they just don't really,
And they
go
tried
back
to give him away
that.
last time for $40,000 and nobody
Yeah.
bit, which is understandable, but that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I mean, Tennis Trotter is a last time was the time horse, got a perfect
Totally.
trip to win. I probably should have gone 2, 4, 3. Miracle Mike is probably the logical horse if you're against the two.
Yeah, and comes out of a race, or at least the last turf race, in which Victor's Valiant came back to win. The 4th place finisher came back to win with an 80 buyer. And I thought, he did a lot of things wrong in that race and was still able to win. He was really keen and fresh and kind of fighting this really extreme bit that he runs in, and probably expended a little bit too much of his energy.
I just worry that he's going to be too far back. I just hate horses at short prices that come from the clouds.
But he wasn't that far back last time.
Well, because the pace was slow.
Yeah.
But he still managed to win. Listen, he can win this race. I'm not against him. I don't have a single clever thing to say beyond the 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I mean, BD
Feels like
Saints
the
was
winner's
the-
going to be one of the ones from there, and BD Saints was sort of the lone
Was the fun
fuzzy.
horse,
For
yeah.
better or worse, he is gone. Race
Yeah.
number 7. I know one thing about race number 7. I am not picking Mission Hill on top. And we'll show the race, and he ran better than All Good Here, who I have coming back. But I got to tell you
put him on
something. This is an embarrassing loss by Mission Hill, Maggie.
I think, this effort is just exemplary of a horse that wants blinkers.
Okay. I think what he wants is
I get what you're saying.
Some courage.
The fact that he did run a little bit faster in his first start as
Yeah.
a 4-year-old gave me some confidence as well. And look, we'll see where Dave Donk's other horse that Tennis Trotter runs in the former race.
That
Wind
horse just
Dancer
sort of run
got
along inside.
the most perfect and
Right.
advantageous first time out trip you could ever ask for.
At 56
All
to
good
1.
here. He was coming off of a long layoff too in that same race, and showed good late foot. But I just wish he had a little bit more of.
I'm going to
early
go
foot.
on the assumption that Mission Hill was more ready to run first time out. I could be totally wrong about this, but I feel as though All Good Here had run very well in his prior turf race back in June. And I don't think he quite ran it last time, and I'm hoping he can improve off that second off for Christophe, whose horses often do need a race off the layoff. So I'm just going to improve, and I just can't pick Mission No on top. I've got something against him, and my other problem is, where else am I supposed to go in here?
No, there's some fuzzies. You put
Tis
the
the
Long Shot
Prince.
4 in here.
It was wide last time, that's all I can say.
Yeah, puts blinkers on. I took a chance here with a horse that was listed in the changes as a first-time gelding on the outside with 645. I just thought that, you know, if this race had come off the turf, I'd be a little bit more excited.
He would
There's a
be
chance it
interesting
could.
off the turf. It's not. There's no rain in the forecast.
Oh, see,
Yeah, but
Mr. Morley was in panic station
no,
mode.
there is no rain until 8 o'clock. 30% chance here. It's and I
It's
find
just so humid that it's one of those days where a random shower, I thought.
it's not impossible, but there's nothing. I find that since Apple took Dark Sky over, which was unfortunate because I love Dark Sky, the
lot of people
website's
did.
gone.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they took over Dark Sky and they used their technology. I find
really
they've been much
pinpoint
more
it.
reliable in the year or so since they did that. Doesn't
Cool.
mean, listen, thunderstorms or something. They'll develop out of nowhere. It's
Yeah.
not Saratoga. I wish I had somebody clever to say.
Yeah.
I thought Big Ego would win if it was off the turf, off the claim for Linda.
Sure.
I don't think you need us to tell you the 12 looked pretty good in race number 6. The race comes off the turf.
Yeah.
That horse will be about 1 to 5 in there.
Yeah.
Race number 8. So I was going to pick Cupid's Heart. I couldn't do it.
I did.
I'll take a look at her last race, where I got to tell you, I thought she ran great in this race.
I do too.
And I will say drawing an outside post is probably good for her. A lot of times drawing outside
I
posts is
agree.
for horses that don't break.
Yep.
Not being completely encumbered. They often break a lot better. This was an inside-y track. Now, it was a fast pace, and Portage was clearly best. But I think she ran well. But at some point, I'm getting a little tired, Maggie, of saying Cupid's Heart ran a great race in defeat. You know what I mean? Like, she runs the race she ran against Undervalued Asset. When Undervalued Asset won the race, people won't remember. Do you remember what race she was coming out of? What her prior race was? She lost a photo to Vava,
Yes, that's right. That's right.
who's the best
But that's the
filly
thing,
sprinter,
right?
filly or
I
mare
mean,
sprinter in
you
the
know,
country.
hindsight, obviously 2020, but I don't like anybody in here.
Well, that's the thing. She's
This
she's
feels
not going
like
to be
the
7 to
weakest
2, by the
race.
way. And
Unless
there's
they
no
did it
chance North I
such
picked up Dollar be
freaks.
favored. None. Zero. I mean, that's
How could she be?
it's absurd. So it's not going to happen. She's going to be 2 to 1 in here, and everybody picks her. And you know what? She's probably going to win. But I am just sick and tired of her creating excuses for herself. Now, it wasn't her fault. The rail was good last time, and she was wide, to be fair. She's good. She's the best horse in this race, but
Yep.
she is so... what is she making? Her 10th start as a 5-year-old, and she started as a 2-year-old?
Yeah,
She
no,
has
she
been
doesn't stay on the
nothing but
racetrack
laps. She's
much.
good. I feel bad for Jay because she's a nice horse.
Yeah,
And she
and
just
there's
can't
been
stay on
a
the
lot
track.
of there's
Bad
been a lot of
trips.
setbacks and bad trips. I
Stumbling,
agree.
different things. As far as Nikitas, who, if she were 2 to 1 in here, I'd be running around the track trying to book as much money on her as I possibly could.
Right. What do you think is
She
the
was
right
running.
price or
She
what
was
she's
running
going
low
to do?
70s when she was a 2-year-old. Why can't she step forward? I don't want to make too much of a race in the forward gal. I don't ever want to make too much of dirt race at Gulfstream, especially because it seems like Chad Brown horses never run any good at Gulfstream on the dirt.
And two, so often they're dominated forwardly,
Yep.
and that race particularly was.
Field's Magic
You know
ran
what
better
my
next
biggest
time.
problem with her is?
She's a massive disappointment.
She is a massive disappointment, but I don't like this rail draw for her at all. She is a horse that hates kickback, like hates it, and she hasn't gotten over it.
Well, okay, that's fair. I don't love her. I thought she'd be 9 to 2 in here, and I still think she's going to be. If she were 3 to 1, I wouldn't bet on her
Got
in here.
it.
I assumed that she would be a distant third choice in this race, and I'm not even sure she won't be a bigger price than Pitch Clock, to be honest with you. Maybe it's close, but I mean, with no IRAD riding, I guess. But isn't St. Benedict's prep? We'll take a look at her last race. I mean, she wasn't totally with the racetrack in here. She was a little off the rail when she made her move. I don't know where the heck this came from, but I mean, if she runs back to this last figure, she's going to win this race.
I mean, I don't think I say they bet her, but she wasn't facing anybody.
Oh, it was
in
a
these.
ridiculous field. No,
Yeah.
it was a terrible field, and that's part of it. But listen, we're seeing a number. Look earlier in the card, the horse that we don't particularly like that was claimed Gun Maestro.
Yeah.
That horse was seemingly lucky to win with a racetrack 2 back, and
And
then
the
ran a huge race the
figure-
next time out.
Yep.
I mean, this horse may just be like,
Oh, she scares
She may
me.
just end up on the front end. They may just go with her, and she may just blow the field away.
She scares me.
Yeah. And I would, if she were a bigger price than Nikitas, I would pick her over Nikitas. I assume she'd be a clearly shorter price than Nikitas.
And you know what? She is a horse. I remember talking with Chad Brown about her that when he tried her on the turf and she finished, what, 5th behind Reflexivity, who he also trained at that point in time, he said, I really like St. Benedict's Prep after he won with her, with the other horse. And he's like, I just can't quite figure her out. She trains so well. And I feel like, horses like that, maybe they are just morning glories, but sometimes it just takes a long time. And now she's a 4-year-old, and maybe she's finally getting to that ability on the track that she's hinted at.
She may be the horse to beat. The more I look, the more I'm a little bit thrown by the line, which I think is crazy. But yeah, I'm not sure. She's not really the right horse there. It's funny with Nikitas, you mentioned Chad Brown. They did love her before her first start, obviously, she's even money. But he said to me right after the race, I made a mistake with her. She's not a turf horse. I should have been running her on the dirt. And he was right. She came back and she took a tough beat in her next start, which is why I don't understand why they ran on the turf last time. And I don't understand why she was 6-5.
I almost think because of the kickback issue.
What do you do with pitch clock? She was pathetic last time.
Can
you make an excuse?
I kind of question the ride a little bit.
Overly aggressive?
Well, no, wait a minute. What was I?
What's interesting about that race is that she comes back from it relatively quickly.
She does. Okay, so I thought she wanted to go to the lead, and then she was kind of wrangled back in where Midtown Lights, I forget which horse was on the front end, it didn't finish anywhere. Midtown Lights was, right glued to that leader.
I forget.
And she was taken back, and it felt like down on the rail, she had her leads backwards. I don't know if she was just really uncomfortable or something. She was on her outside lead around the turn and then her inside lead in the stretch. And like you said, she comes back relatively quickly off of a no-show effort. I just think things went really wrong for her in that race.
And she's got races that make her a contender here. We'll see what happens in race number 8. Other race number 9 was the best race of the day.
It's fun. It's a fun race.
And I like a horse near, and you and I like the same horse in this race.
Yeah.
So why do you like Ask Isaac?
I mean, are we going to show it?
No, I didn't put it up.
Come on, Andy. Junior nearly fell off. He was so rank.
I know.
He lost his iron. A race in which it featured some decent horses and Noted and Spirit Prince. He was really green that day in the paddock and on the racetrack
also
too.
dominated up front.
Exactly that. And then they tried to go to the dirt with him.
I would bet him on the dirt in here.
Yeah, which I'm not, like you said.
I would bet him if it came off the turf.
I just think he's faced some nice horses as a 2-year-old.
I like him.
And I just don't think he was really ready as a 2-year-old. And Bill Mott's done this.
Does it bother you at all he's in for a tag? He's a $400,000 yearly purchase.
I hear you.
It's in for a tag.
Yeah.
Kind of giving
For
up.
an Uncle Mo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not gelded, Lasix.
Right.
I like him too. Listen, I think Parkway's dangerous. See what kind of trip he gets here, and he's a bit of a goofball, but he's had wide trips in this race. And the thing is, we'll look at Poker Joker and Four Top, the 2 horses coming in the Monmouth race. What am I supposed to like about this race? See, one of the reasons I like horses like the 9 and 6, I don't want any part of these horses from this race at Monmouth.
Right, because they ran against real horses.
It's a mediocre race, best.
Yeah, Prince of Troy got away with things on the front end. Poker Joker, he might just not be any good. I kind of used him a little bit defensively because at least he did outfinish Four Top, and he's
Four Top's a little wider, but he wasn't not that much.
I just thought that Poker Joker was going to be more forward.
I just didn't want either one of these horses,
I
honestly.
hear ya.
If I'm going to take somebody besides the Motts, I'm going to take Cobblestone Ridge, who
that was
the
a
shuffle back
glacial
is
pace.
Weird. It's just the way the race was run. I'll tell you something else. I don't know if the inside was bad, but he didn't seem to want to do any running on the inside. And when he got off the rail, he seemed to have a little more horse.
Right, and he had to steady to get to that more outside path.
He may not be
down
much
the stretch.
horse, but his race 2 back was okay.
And then too, finally, he's pairing races back to back. He's a horse that has had lines in between his form, and the race that he was in. Again, like we said, a slow pace and wired by F35 that day. Both the second and third place finishers have come back to win, albeit not that decent races, 74 and 79 respectively.
In my heart,
He might just be slow.
I'm rooting for McCullough.
Okay.
Do you know McCullough? Do you know who Paul McCullough was? Paul McCullough was the original owner and manager of 15 Church. And I don't know if you knew Paul. He was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy.
Okay.
And he passed away, I want to say a couple of years ago. And Bill Lawrence named this horse for Paul.
Nice.
And I think, one of these horses that when they named him, he looked like he was going to be pretty good. And it turned out not to really work out, obviously. He has have a little bit of turf pedigree, but anyone that went to 15 Church when it first opened in the glory days,
so good. That's the
knows Paul, and Paul was the best.
I think that was the last time I've been in 15 Church.
Yeah,
I haven't
Paul-
been in several years.
Oh, Paul, I went there. I remember my mom and I, after the meet closed, I'll stick around usually for a week and hang out with my mom, and we were driving by it, and they were starting to refurbish it, and that building had basically been empty for forever. And my mom said, yeah, I read they're going to make it into a restaurant. I said, oh, that's exciting, let's go, and it opened.
Yeah.
And it opened in April.
Yeah.
And so my mom and I went right after
Do
it
you
opened.
remember what year that was?
No.
Was that like 16? 15.
It was somewhere in there,
was
yeah.
around 16, I think.
Remember, I could ask my friend Yaz, who was close to Paul, but and we went in the first time when it just opened, and Paul, of course, was super friendly. He loved the races and everything,
Yeah.
and super friendly, and that's how I got to know Paul. And he was a really, as anyone can attest, and he also knew how to run. He had a perfect ability to know how to run a restaurant.
Yeah.
He knew when people wanted to be bothered and when they didn't.
Yep.
He's a brilliant guy and a very kind man, and
Yeah.
a lot of us miss him. But I think
Essential.
when I see this horse run, it makes me think of Paul. Anyhow, we are done. Maggie has to go to work. I'm going to get some lunch.
I got time.
You got a little time. That's true. Anyway, head over to Naira Bets. You don't have that much time. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match with $200 of your initial deposit. Check out the track stats while you are over there as well. Also, middle pick four, races 2, 3, and 6 for the pick fours today. We have a Belmont Derby Challenge next Saturday. Go over to NairaBets.com, sign up. You can play it through Naira Bets as you always can for the Saturday contest, but also you can play this one on track. Come out, it'll be a fun day, and we won't be back here for over 2 months after the Belmont Derby weekend. We also have the Cross Country Big Five, 3 at Belmont, 2 at Monmouth Park, sort of a little bit of an odd sandwich. And we are on from 12:30 to 5:30 today. The first half hour on FS2, 1 to 2 on FS1, nothing could possibly go wrong there, and 2 to 5:30 on FS2. We're done. Thanks, Maggie. Thank you. Chris Griffin's up next. Reprise, Scratch, and Changes. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.